Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us and above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And I hope someday you will join us and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, just a familyhood at hand. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say that I'm a dreamer, and I know I'm not the only one. And I pray someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. You may say that I'm a dreamer, and you'd be right. It's true. And I'd also call myself an imaginal cell. A friend of mine and former housemate, as well as a friend of the fellowship, Michael Logue, came home from a spiritual gathering one evening with an enthusiastic concept. Imaginal cells as a profound metaphor for the human potential of transformation. Well, to say the least, I was intrigued. Tell me more. And it goes something like this. Caterpillars. They spend all their time eating, and they will eat until there is not a leaf left on that plant, and then they will mosey on over to another one and eat from that. In a word, they're gluttons. And then comes a point where they are stuffed into a stupor, and so they find themselves a safe place under a leaf, on a twig or an overhanging branch, and they attach themselves to it. And thus begins the process of creating a chrysalis, transforming the outer layer of its soft body into a firm shell. Now, it's common knowledge that the time when a caterpillar is in the chrysalis, that it metamorphoses into a butterfly. But what is not commonly known is what really transpires in that chrysalis. It's quite remarkable. Scientists have revealed that every cell in that caterpillar dissolves into like a goo or a slime, if you will. Yet in the dissolving comes a special cellular structure that did not previously exist in the caterpillar. And these are the imaginal cells, the DNA that creates a butterfly. And now for the allegory of how this pertains to humanity. To paint a broad picture, humans are very consumptive beings. And in the recent past, we have shifted from consuming what we need to survive into consuming what we want to thrive, and then surpassing that into a headlong place where we consume more than we need. And the result of that is waste. Food is thrown away while people go hungry. Landfills are full of plastic and discarded material that could have been recycled. Our roadways are choked with traffic, and air is poisoned with carbon monoxide. Our current way of living is not sustainable. We have been gluttonous little caterpillars, and we have come along to a point where the negative impact can be seen, and it adds up to climate change. Again, the current trajectory of consumption is not sustainable. And one might argue that since we didn't have the good sense to stop on our own, a coronavirus came along and stopped us for us. I will never forget the quiet that followed that first shelter in place. No airplanes roaring across the sky, no cars zooming down the street. Highway 1 had no traffic, and more people were walking and riding their bikes. Everything was at a slower pace, so much so that even animals stepped out into the open and realized that there was room for them after all. For better or for worse, COVID has slowed us down and has given us an opportunity to reflect on what we want, how we want to be, the impact that we have on Earth, and how we are to move forward. In a question, what can we give up to make room for the culture shift from our consumptive ways into our next human potential? And when we contemplate this, we are being imaginal cells. We can imagine ourselves as sustainable, compatible, resilient, moderate, complementary, and beautiful beings in the dance of life on Earth, not overbearing machines consuming and wasting. And this leads me to another concept that uses butterfly in a beautiful metaphor. It is called the butterfly effect. And the term goes something like this. A butterfly flaps its wings in Tokyo, and a tornado then occurs in Tennessee. The butterfly effect essentially says that one simple action can have a big impact. And contemplating this is empowering. I had hoped that we could still see the monarchs that hang out in natural bridges and on Lighthouse Field as a part of our activity for this service, but I went there the other day and they aren't there anymore. So next November through January, I want us to have a fellowship field trip where we go and see the monarchs as they winter in the eucalyptus and cypress groves. In the meantime, humanity has this opportunity and this capacity to develop and present fantastic ideas. What can be imagined can be created, and what we put our collective efforts towards can be brought to fruition. And since we are the creators of our culture, we have the power to make a change toward a sustainable future. I like to think of Unitarian Universalism as an imaginal cell. It is a spiritual practice when we bring forth ideals and set ourselves on the task for developing them by sharing our time, talent, and treasure, by conserving and honoring Earth's resources that we need to survive and thrive. This is not to say that we have it right all the time. Oh, heaven knows. We are a fallible human endeavor every step of the way. Yet, every step made intentionally can bring about a world that we want to see. So the invitation of this service today is to look within yourself and look within your family, your communities, and see where it is that you can be an imaginal cell and be that transformative power, and potential. You may say that I'm a dreamer, and I know I'm not the only one. By attending this service today, you have joined me, and we will work together that the world may live as one. Blessed be this journey that we are on.